you. So we will call the meeting to order to, and first item 2 is the approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any corrections, adjustments, additions to the minutes as published from our last meeting?
This is Malcolm. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Hey. On page 3, the indented portion, 3 paragraphs from the bottom, it says, did the city have any impact on this, into this project? It should read input. And then secondly, at the bottom of the page on 3, where it says council member Sweet agreed, that particular sentence should be above the second from the bottom paragraph. So in other words, where it starts to say, where it says Shannon said he can bring, it should be above that. That's all. Suggestions.
Thank you. Marion, we capture those? Okay, excellent. All right, given those friendly amendments, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
A second? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And
Aye.
we know Malcolm said aye, so there we go. All right, unanimous. Okay, let's go to item 3, which is public participation. Public participation enables the public to address the commission about an item that is not on the agenda. If you wish to address the commission, please state your name and address for the record. The Arizona Open Meeting Law prohibits the commission from discussing or taking action on any item which is not listed on the prepared agenda. The commission members may, however, respond to criticism made by those addressing the commission, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda. Public comment should be limited to 3 minutes reading time. So do we have any public participation participants? Going once, going twice. Okay. Go to item 4, which is new business. Unfortunately, Mr. McGrath could not be here from the Forest Service, so we're not going to have a summer 2024 outlook this month. We are hoping for rain, I think could be Captain Obvious. Okay, so item 5, old business, we have none. In terms of informational items to and from, I do know we want to have a quick discussion around we're putting a letter together, drafting a letter from the Water Commission to the City Council about the rate study and portions of that we support, some areas where we may have continued concern or want to make them aware of, like, for example, the 4% assumption around inflation. Any number you pick is going to be wrong. So just highlighting a few things like that we think are important. We'll have that for everybody's review here shortly. There's a draft A that's going back and forth, and it needs to be B here pretty quick so that we can get that in front of everybody. And then Shannon, I think you had some comments for the commission just about the process, either yourself, for yourself and Aaron as well, and for the team. So I'll let you take the floor.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I just think as normal, we are definitely available. We realize that the stage of the process that we're in. I think the mayor said it best, where it does seem like it's rushed, and it's not a rush process. We're just trying to communicate as much information right in the time slots that we have available. So I do appreciate the commission's willingness to allow council to maybe infringe a little bit onto your meeting time. So I do appreciate that. Staff is available to provide questions, additional information. So knowing that we're available for that. As you heard from the last meeting, we'll be coming back on council on Tuesday to finish the presentation. There'll probably be, I'm sure there's always tweaks. We're tweaking presentations up to the time we give it. But then, so I do hope that commission is able to hear that at the council meeting. And if there's questions that you do have coming out of that, even if it's not that night, that we remain available to the commission to answer any of those questions. But thank you.
I think just as a quick update for some of our council members were not in this last meeting with the joint meeting with the city council. What I heard in terms of themes or comments that came up, there was concern about, on both sides, about the inflation rate. Some folks thought it was too high, the assumed inflation rate, because if you look back in time, pre-COVID, many of the components were actually reducing in cost and then spiked during the COVID era. Some people were concerned that the 4% is not enough and going to eat into the ability to actually execute on capital programs. Heard some input from speakers as well as one of the city council members about it's a big burden and it could affect growth and people leaving Flagstaff. So can we not do this was sort of the request, or really scale it back? So even to a point of, is there a way to just sort of scrap this and do something? There we go. Sorry. Can we scrap this process and look at it a completely different way, which, Rick has been subpoenaed to come Tuesday and give his input on that. So enjoy that, Rick. It'll be, yeah. Excellent. That was a theme that was there, as well as I think Carol did her usual excellent attempt to explain a 255 variable graph in the most concise way. But there's a lot of work still to do. So there is a meeting Tuesday. I didn't catch the time though.
It'll be on the council's agenda, which will start at 3. And then what we're slated in the agenda. Like we're last.
And so that is a continuation of the discussion because Carol was able to get about halfway through the different scenarios around the different rates. And so I think what we will, if I had to forecast, I'd say you're probably going to have the city council look at an amended subset of some of the capital items based on the feedback, especially from Council Member Matthews that said, we looked at the whole Christmas list, but my credit card doesn't go that far. So I think we might see some asks for change, we being the water department. But Shannon, any other big discussion trends I missed?
No, I think that was the takeaway. And again, there was some good public comment, as you mentioned, and there was an invitation for that to continue. We have our event that'll be coming up on Saturday with the drop-in event. And we'll continue that outreach and manage our communications. There was some feedback that we had on the calculator. And so we heard those comments and we'll be working to implement those as well.
Anybody else have information too from department, council, commission members?
Well, I don't know what the process is exactly, but the questions that council presented, I thought were excellent questions. And I have a general feeling that the more we improve communications between council and the water commission, the better, and staff. So that triangle of communication, it'd have been nice to have, if it's okay, I don't know if it's legal for us to see those questions that council and your answers to them also. Is that a possibility?
I conferred with my legal advice here. Yeah, we will get that shared to you. Apologize for the oversight. That did just go out today. So I don't know, the council got a full chance to process that before the meeting. But we're trying to get that to them, but we'll share that with the commission.
It just seems like, they brought up questions that really had the pulse of a lot of people that we may not be thinking about. And so it's important for us to hear that, see what the council's worried about and how they're responding to it. So.
Yeah, that's good. We can submit a FOIA request to the city clerk. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kidding. Yeah. So, yeah, and you're talking about the slides that were the question response. Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, there's a separate document. So actually for the slides, I stole portions out of a correspondence that we shared with council that we created in that format. So the slides represent maybe a majority of it, but there's a different document that we will share. Not just not just the slides that you have to refer to.
Yep, excellent. Okay.
I guess, you know, a lot of the council members aren't technical people. Some are, they're all very bright, but they don't have a lot of technical expertise. So the more we can see the stuff and be of any help to help them, I think the better. So.
Yeah, excellent point. And just as a point for those that weren't here, John raised, I think, a really critical point in your public comment about having the technical scientific expertise within the county, within the city, within the department to help us as we go forward, or ensuring that. And that's a challenge given budgets and pay grades and those kinds of things. But we need that expertise as we look at how we go forward and deal with all the new regulations around all the new contaminants and, you know, just life in general. So, yeah, that was a great comment, John.
The thing is, you know, the water group has been working, you know, we've been working on this new technology that really could change the face of wastewater treatment in the next 10 years. And save a boatload of money, but I know you guys need money now. And so the water group had a long discussion about, well, how do we approach this? Because some of those CIP projects, we're not sure what they're going to look like in another year or two. So, but that's the nature of change. We've got to be flexible. So.
Okay. Any other comments back and forth?
Thank you, Kurt. I don't completely know whether it's appropriate to ask a question like this in this setting, but in the various rate presentations, I realize I am now confused about whether what are listed as unfunded projects, the estimated money for those are included in the rate plan or not. And then there's another bit of confusion that was thrown in that some of Carol's charts now are for 9-year period as opposed to a 10-year period. And so beyond 5 years, it's getting confusing to me how that factors into a rate study.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Vane. So ultimately, we're looking at the rate structure. You're looking through a 5-year window, but for the CIP, that is it is looking at a 10-year window. So when you take the numbers for the full CIP, you do normalize that over a 10-year. As it's looking at, but the rate study is only really gonna, is putting you in a path, right, to stabilize that over 10 years. So ultimately, after the 5 years, your rates can't revert back. You won't have the CIP funded. So it's projecting those ongoing. But so again, that's why I think I focus on, that you look at that burn rate. So again, for a $200 million 10-year CIP, the rate would support a $20 million annual investment into that. There will be years where you spend in excess of that because more projects are moving, and there'll be years below, but over the 10 years, if you normalize that spending. I think for the unfunded, the cost estimates we have for the unfunded projects are included in that, except for the two significantly large projects, which is the $200 million the new wastewater treatment technology and the future water supply. So even though those are listed on the unfunded, those numbers were pulled from the equation. All the rest of them were included in. Only came part of the conversation under capacity fees, where the wastewater treatment plant, a portion of that is allocated in the current proposed capacity fees. Again, not fully funding a new wastewater treatment plant, but helping to move that needle. Yeah, but happy to share any more clarification on that. Sorry for the confusion.
Yeah, that helps. Just to repeat what I think I heard you say. So the unfunded, less those two big projects is included in the total pot that is smoothed then over the 10-year period to come up with the roughly 20 million per year average.
That's correct for water.
Okay, and comparable discussion for wastewater, I assume.
Yes, it is included. I think that's about 16.8 million annually for wastewater, and that would include those unfunded project listed, except for the new wastewater facility.
Okay, thanks very much.
One final input or question.
The two big projects, I guess one of my points I didn't get to in my comments to council was that to plan long-term for those two projects, you need a lot of technical expertise on board and all the projects in between. And you've got a lot of good people, but and you're putting out fires like 4th Street water main bursts and stuff like that. And a lot of your staff doesn't have time to get to that kind of thinking, that long-term thinking that's really important in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. So that's why I thought personnel is such a key problem right now for the water department.
I think I smell an opening for another consultant, but we'll jump off that bridge later. Yeah. Okay. (5:48 PM). 18 minutes. There we go.